You thought I wouldn't do it, didn't you? Okay, probably not, but um I was kind of thinking about doing this specific video. But at the same time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it for two reasons. One, not really a normal type of video this channel posts, though. We don't really post a normal type of video anymore because, stuff's happened in the world and we can't really do that. But I thought to myself, you know what? You know, maybe I can pull it off. And the second reason I didn't want to do it is because it's a book review. And it's the second book. And I'd have to do it spoiler-filled. So, but I just thought, you know what? I've released 2 other videos today. I'm gonna make this one. And I mean, I don't have anything writing on this. I don't need to worry about watch time or video analytics or any of that stuff. So I'm gonna do a book review of Ascension because I just finished it. So not last night, but the night before that. So then I finished it at that time. And I gotta say, excellent, 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 excellent book. Excellent. However, it is a bit slower than the first book. I think the first book is more of a contained story. It's got this whole. There will be spoilers for the first book in this video as well. It's got a whole thing going. You've got your introduction of Finn and the crew and all that. Their quest, kill the Lord Ruler. They kill him, and then then it's like the happy ending. But in this book, it's a little more. It's like 2 years later, if I remember correctly, and the new civilization they built is under attack. There's a siege by these 3 different armies that keep showing up, and they're really stuck somewhere because they don't have enough forces to fight back, and they really can't, like, for political reasons and all this stuff. Like, they can't. They're really backed into a corner here, and so a very, very, very good portion of the book is dedicated to 2 things: exploring the mystery of what, like, the deepness is and the hero of ages, and really just, fleshing out the characters more, and, world building and relationships and all that. And the other portion is political intrigue, almost, where Elend and Vin and they're all strategizing and trying to figure out how Luthadel can survive the siege. And I gotta say, this approach, I like the approach. Because, yes, it's slower than book 1. The pacing is slower. But it's so worth it. Like, it doesn't speed by as fast as book 1. It's setting up this thing. It's setting up this stuff. It's a slow burn that really burns at the end. Sorry, I got a text. And because I'm recording this and stuff, it was literally nothing, just people talking. And I don't know why I even looked at it. I didn't actually read it. You ever do that sometimes? Weird. No, it's definitely more of a slow burn for the most part. However, because, this is the move I do when I'm about to say however. I'm like, however, at the end, it definitely becomes a faster burn, or like a more faster-paced story. And there is a bit of a Sanderson avalanche here, and if you're not familiar with that term, in a lot of his books, he starts building up this, and then the climax, like the full final climax, is just like this epic, awesome thing. And unlike the first book, it's not a total resolution because they're going into the third book to really finish things off. The first book is contained, and then the second and third are kind of also contain narrative. Like, they're definitely connected, you know? They're not like other things, but they're like, how do I say this? I'm trying to remember. I was going to use a Star Wars metaphor, but I don't think. I'm trying to remember at New Hope if that's like a. What happens at the end of A New Hope? Oh, wait. So, for the most part, it seems like in A New Hope, it's more of like a closed story, you know? They do the stuff, you know, they've introduced the characters, they do the stuff, they defeat the big bad guy, in that case, they blow up the Death Star, you know? It has kind of a happy ending. Then Empire and Return of the Jedi are connected, you know? Not to say that they aren't all connected, but they're specifically a larger or part of a different closed-off narrative. And that's not the best like metaphor to use here, not the best comparison to use here, but I think you're trying to get what I'm saying. So, in Law of Ascension, there's a lot of setup going on, I would say. Not as much for the world, but for what's happening. There's setup, and there's political intrigue, and there's all this stuff. Now we're going to talk about the big spoilers. You know, my overall big thoughts on the book. I want to start this off by talking about Zane, because, wow, what a conflicting character. I mean, on one hand, I hate him with every cell of my body, but on the other hand, I love him so much. So, if you're watching this and you don't care about spoilers, Zane is the misborn bastard son of Strath Venture and the brother of Elon. And throughout the book, he seems to be helping Vin. They're enemies, and they kind of develop this friendship, and there's like some romantic vibes going on between them, sort of. And that whole plot point of them doing stuff, and then you've got these perspectives with Strath where he's telling him at one point, he's like, you have to go kill Vin, but then he doesn't. And you know deep down that Zane is not, he's not how do I say this? He's not a bad guy in the traditional sense. He's deeply broken in a way. And that's the thing. I really don't know how I feel about him. It seems like it's the popular opinion that no one really knows how they feel about him because he's just so divisive. You know, so you have Zane. I mean, on the surface, you know, he's an enemy mistborn, and he ends up trying to kill them and all that. But he has reasons for hating, nobles. He has reasons like that, just like Doxson has reasons. But it's different than Doxson. He has his reasons, you know. He has had this horrible upbringing. He's had all this trauma. He's got all this. You know, there's this whole thing where he's, like, insane. He's got this, like, God speaking to him, and there's this whole thing where it's like he wasn't actually insane. And, there's this whole thing going on, which makes his character so difficult to just know if you hate him or like him. Because based on his actions, you should hate him. Or at least most of them. He has many actions that... So during, like, the middle of the book, and before his big betrayal in a way, he's kind of a bad influence on Vin, but he doesn't seem like a bad guy. But when he ends up betraying her and he tries to kill her, he's not entirely doing it for Strath. And it's very complicated. It's not something that I'm not sure I know how to put into words entirely. He is an amazing character. And you should hate him for everything he does. You should hate him. But in the end, he's kind of has some justification, and he's not that bad. I don't really know how to say it. He's just, I'm just gonna leave it at that. He's just like, it's really unknown, you know? He's not good or bad in a sense, you know? Like, he's a great character, but you don't hate him or love him. He's not inherently a bad guy, yet he is, yet he's good, yet it's complicated. But I kind of touched on that. That's definitely something that's a little more difficult to explain. Now let's talk about the ending. So, because the ending is where most of the stuff happens, I would say. Throughout the book, a lot of it is, they're just trying to set up for this big stuff that's happening at the end. Because throughout the first book, there are sprinklings of, like, the Well of Ascension, the deepness, all those bits of, like, history and lore and the whole prophecy part. This is the book where Vin is like, okay, I'm kind of the hero of ages, and we gotta go to the Well of Ascension, and then Sazed's like, yeah, the Well of Ascension, it's in the Terrace Mountains. Definitely not just sending you away so you can live. And that certainly, the way that they introduced, like, that whole plot point of the Well of Ascension, it wasn't my favorite plot point at first, because I was definitely more concerned with what was happening in Luthadel with the armies. But I gotta say, it does grow on you a bit. Because it's just, goodness. They start with the whole, they've got their, like, throughout the book, Vin do his research, Sazed, Tinwell, I'm probably pronouncing those two, the Terraceman names wrong, but that's how I pronounced it, so that's what I'm gonna do. They're all, no, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my thoughts out there. They're doing research on all this, but then, there's the Mist Spirit, and it's all building up to all these reveals in the ending. So, first of all, Sazed realizes at the very end when he's mourning Tinwell's death, and he's looking through their research book, that Vin needs help. Like, they have to think about actually if they want to release the power like the prophecy says. And so he's running there, and then Marsh is there. And we haven't seen Marsh for a good portion of time in this book. He was in the beginning when Sazed was first getting to Luthadel, but we haven't seen him in a long time. And he's all like, I have to kill you now. And, sometimes, and that's definitely a mystery. And I gotta say, I'm really wondering, like, what's gonna happen there? Like, I'm really wondering why he had to do that. Which is one of the reasons I'm really excited for the third book. But the main reason is all the crazy stuff that happens at the end. First of all, the power inside the Well of Ascension. They weren't supposed to let it go. If you've read the book, obviously you'd know that. Like I said, this is a spoiler-filled review. However, if you haven't, if you just decided you didn't care about spoilers, yeah, the power inside the Well of Ascension, that the whole prophecy is stated, that you have to let it go to, do the right thing. It was like this evil power or something, and it was not supposed to be let go. And that's the first big reveal. Second big reveal, Mist Spirit chops up Eland. He chops him up good. And he's dying, and I'm thinking, this is, who knows what's going to happen here. And then the Mist Spirit shows them this thing, and it's like this metal thing, and they give it to Elend so he can, because the Mist Spirit keeps pointing to it, and it turns him into a Mistborn. Because Elend had no allomantic abilities up to this point. And I was thinking, like, at some point he's going to get some. And I thought maybe he'll just, like, manifest one. He'll be, like, secretly a smoker, or, he'll have one. Or a soother or something. No! Full-blown Mistborn. Definitely a big reveal. Definitely excited for book 3. Because of the characters, because of what happens in the end, the mysteries, and because I want to see what happens here. I have heard that book 3 is really good. Like, really, really good. I've heard it's the best of the original Era 1. And I have heard that some crazy stuff happens there. So I'm definitely excited for it. And if this video does well, or if I feel like it, I will do a review of book 3. And maybe I'll do one of Elantris when I finish it as well. But, for the most part, those are my thoughts. That was a really good book. So, yes, let's see if I can get, like, the thumbnail image here. I don't know if I actually use this for the thumbnail, but... Oh yeah, if you didn't know, there's a reason that I'm recording this on my laptop, and it's not edited at all. Well, because the computer that I edit on, isn't really, it's dying, that's really the main reason. So, and mostly this is how the chat ones are filmed, so I figured I'd just carry on with book review. So yeah, that's mostly what I had to say about Well of Ascension, and eventually you can see a review for some other books I finished, depending on if I feel they warrant one. Because that's not really the main purpose of this channel, but it's the one you're getting. So, adios.